Good morning. They moved my pulpit to a different room. Just when you think they're starting to like you, maybe I need to take a hint. Hey, I'm Pastor Matt. I'm one of the pastors here at the church. I just wanted to draw your attention to a few things before we jump and dive into the message. Put a couple things on your radar. As part of our family summer nights, I know we have night of worship tonight, but we also have coming up church business meeting and missions night. And what I like to call this event is the mullet of the church. Because you got the business in the front, party in the back. Okay, so the business meeting, I don't want to diminish that at all. If you're connected to us, if your heart is to really, kind of be a part of our church and church family, this is the exciting meeting. This is the meeting where we look back at the last year, see where God's moving, and then we get to look forward and we get to project and we get to dream and we get to talk about, well, what are the possibilities of building? What does our staff look like in the future? What do we have maybe a shot at pulling off this year if we can kind of perceive where God's moving, right? And there's no crystal ball, but we get together and we plan as best we can. And that honestly is a really exciting meeting to be a part of. And then we're gonna spend the second half of the evening celebrating our missionaries and our mission partners. And we've asked some of our missionaries to put together an updated video of just them talking to our church. And we'll get to see some of that. We started a really fantastic partnership this last year down in the Dominican Republic with the Slaters, who run a Christian classical academy. And we're going to get to kind of see some pictures and talk about what has started down there in terms of the relationship with our church and what we've been able to do down there. So it's a night you guys don't want to miss. I hope to see you there. We'll have some light refreshments that evening too. And then the second thing I wanted to draw your attention to, there's a flyer in your seat for a donation drive. A couple of our local ministry partners, this is kind of like our local missions as a church, but a couple of the organizations that we have been partnered with for years recently asked us and said, hey, we have some needs for some donated items. So you can kind of check out the list and the organizations there. One of those is Caring Ministries. We're a huge part of their Thanksgiving drive in the fall. We usually purchase all the protein for the drive, but they've asked us, they actually have a shortage of all of the non-perishable boxed goods. And I know it sounds crazy, but they're collecting those now in June for that Thanksgiving drive because they give away so much food. So help us fill some pantries. Help us meet some needs with some organizations that are really doing some great things and gospel-centered out in our community. And then the collection for this is going to be next week. So we're telling you guys this week, bring stuff next week. Encourage you to grow your grocery run this week. Be generous. Buy some stuff for our ministry partners, and let's help meet some of those needs they're just right here in our community. So we're going to be in the Gospel of John today, John chapter 5. So if you guys want to turn your Bibles there, this is a really interesting account that we're spending time in this morning because it's only found in the Gospel of John. Many of Jesus' miracles are found in 2 or more of the gospel accounts. There's 4 gospel accounts, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This miracle is only found in John's gospel. And I think it's further worth mentioning, John records the fewest miracles of Jesus. Out of all of the other gospel writers, I think Mark has 16 or 18 miracles. John chooses only 7, and this is one of the ones he chooses, which makes it a little bit fascinating for me. So in the passage today, John 5, Jesus, he locks eyes with a paralyzed man. And he asks him a question that I think echoes into our lives today, and the question is, do you want to become well? Do you want to become well? And if Jesus were here on Sunday morning physically and walking up and down the aisles, asking people in the audience, asking any of us, do you want to become well? I'm sure that there would be a resounding yes answer. We have a culture that's a little bit obsessed with wellness. Do you guys agree with that? A little bit obsessed. I mean, we spend decent chunks of every single day of our lives thinking about wellness. In 2025, wellness was a $500 billion industry. I can't wrap my mind around that number, to be honest with you. In my daily life, I don't live in the billions. $500 $200 billion. Like I can't imagine how much money that is. That's crazy. We buy organic foods. We buy skincare products. I was at Costco the other day, and I was kind of drooling a little bit, but did this massive sauna. And I was like, why do I want a sauna? But Costco does it to you. You walk in there and you're like, why do I want to buy things that I never wanted in my life before? But I'm like, would that improve kind of like my mental and physical wellness? And I haven't looked yet, but I bet you they have one of those ridiculous cold plunge things, right? I don't know if okay, they do. Maybe we have some people that bought one. So I know that has health benefits. My older brother does that, and he tries to sell me on it, but I'm never going to do that. My body operates somewhere around 100 degrees. Why would I do that? Yeah, guys, we as a culture, we're obsessed with it a little bit. We wear smartwatches. We wear devices around our wrist. More than 50% of Americans wear something that tracks their health on a daily basis. And maybe you woke up this morning and you were like, oh, man, I feel like a truck hit me. I'm feeling a little sluggish. Let me check my number, So there's a metric that your watch spits out about, well, this is what happened, and this is maybe why you didn't sleep so well. Because we want to be well. We want to be well. It's not just in the arena of physical wellness. We want to be mentally well. That's a huge part of our culture too. We want to be emotionally well. I'm right there too. I feel like I don't want to tell you guys how many times I've had a gym membership, and even at different gyms. Because you think, well, I'm going to do this thing and then it's going to change my life. I go to the dentist. I go to the doctor because I know and believe that they will keep me well. I've done intermittent fasting. I've kind of tried that route. And some of you guys are looking up here with your judgy eyes at me, and you're like, well, didn't take. Beneath all the tracking and the health and wellness solutions we have, Jesus' question, it kind of has a surface level to the question, but it has a much deeper weight to it. He's not just asking if we want to be well. He's considering us to evaluate what is the thing that we think is going to make us well. That's what we're going to get at the story today. So today we're going to look at 3 possible answers to the question, what will make you well? What do you believe will make you well? And I don't know if this is too much of a spoiler for you guys, but the answer at the end of the message is Jesus. Like it's only Jesus. So welcome to church. I don't know if you were expecting something different. Let's hop into John chapter 5, verse 1. Let's read that together. John chapter 5, verse 1. After this, a Jewish festival took place, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. By the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there is a pool called Bethesda in Aramaic, which has 5 colonnades. Within these lay a large number of disabled, blind, and lame, and paralyzed people. So Jesus travels to Jerusalem for this festival, and I find it interesting that he doesn't go to the places of power. He doesn't go to the places where you have religious people. He goes to the places where he can find the highest concentration of broken and desperate people. Bethesda was the place where the marginalized of Jewish and Roman and Hellenistic society got pushed because they were outcast. So they were pushed into the margins, and they gathered here at these waters, at this pool in Jerusalem, just outside the city gates. This is a really interesting place. After the time of Jesus, there were multiple empires that came and rebuilt the city of Jerusalem. They'd conquer the land and kind of rebuild whatever they want to build. So you see the leftovers of kind of all of these remnants in the layers of soil as archaeologists dig. And this story of the pool of the Bethesda in John was actually used to discredit the book of John for a couple millennia. It's kind of crazy. So historians, people say, well, the pool doesn't exist. Atheists, skeptics, liberal theologians use this pool and say, it doesn't exist. This can't be accurate. Lo and behold, a German archaeologist, 1888, goes digging and he's like, hey, I found this pool that the Bible talks about that we haven't been able to find for almost 2,000 years. And then in 1950 and in 1960, they did mass excavations in that area. And then that's what you see now today where the pools are. But that's only 75 years ago that we can really see like the evidence of the 5 colonnades, the kind of pagan worship that was going on in this area. It was this mismatch of religion and skepticism and superstition and belief all at this pool. And this was a really sad place. The pool had superstition attached to it. People believed that an angel would come by and stir up the water, or a god or some supernatural force would stir the water, and if you were the first person to get into the water, then you would be healed. So hence, hundreds of people lying around this pool, waiting for something supernatural to happen and pinning their hopes on waters being stirred up so that they could be healed, they could be well, they could be whole. And Jesus walks into this pool area with these 5 covered porches, and he scans the crowd and he sees a specific man. I don't know why he chose that man, because there were hundreds, but he did. Let's pick it up in verse 5. One man was there who had been disabled for 38 years. Jesus saw him lying there and realized that he had been there a long time, and he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the disabled man answered, "I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up. But when I'm coming, someone else goes down ahead of me." And I wonder if the man was actually slightly annoyed by Jesus' question. It kind of seems obvious that this is the place where unwell people gather. It's probably obvious that the man is lying there lamed. I think it's clear too, both in this passage and then even a little bit later in the passage, that the man misses Jesus entirely. He doesn't even know who Jesus is. He doesn't realize that the creator of the universe is standing right in front of you. He's so fixated. I think he misses Jesus partially too. He's so fixated on that the waters, this is going to be what heals me. So he's got this myopic, focused view that this is the thing that I'm pinning my hopes on. I can't see you. I can't see this other thing. And I would argue that many of us do the same thing. And it just looks a little bit different in our lives. It looks a little bit different in our culture. I think there's probably not many of us that are sitting at the superstition spring. But we found some other good and healthy things to do. So we look to nutrition. We look to exercise. We look to our mental health routines. We pin our hopes on financial stability and security, and we build that. And we set these things on this unreasonably high pedestal, hoping or believing that they'll offer us some sort of deep and soul level satisfaction if we do those, or if we chip off and we get enough of those things done in our life. And they just don't. They don't offer us that kind of satisfaction. They change us, no doubt. So I'm not knocking those things. They change us, but they don't change us like Jesus can change us. Those things don't change us like only Jesus can change our lives. We misplace our expectations and we get those good things kind of mixed up. And we focus on those rather than the one that can really provide us ultimate and deep satisfaction. So I have a question. I got a question for you today that I think we can pull out of this passage. What is your pool of Bethesda? What's your pool? How does this look in your life? Is it an exercise routine? Is it a nutrition plan? Is it dependent on some sort of stage in your life? Maybe you're in college and you're like, wow, I can just get my life started and things will be good once I graduate. Or you're single and you say, well, once I'm married, like that's what my life needs. That's what I'm missing. And you chip away at that thing. And then once you're married, you say, well, once I have kids, once I'm able to actually start a family, and I'm just renting right now and I'm throwing my money away. So, once I can buy a house, once I can get into a house, then my life will be stable and I'll feel like I have my feet under me and things will be good. We kind of pin it to life stages. Maybe it's just finding the right therapist or the counselor that you have more of a connection with. You feel like I just need to find someone that's a little bit better fit. And they get me and they understand me a little bit more. Or a mental health routine. Let me say this. I don't want to miss this. I want to kind of create some safeguards for the message here. All of these things are good things. We should do all of these things. God wants us to take very good care of our bodies, perhaps better care than we already take of them with our, health and wellness obsessed culture. He gave us these bodies to steward them for his glory, to use them for his glory. So we need to take care of them. But I'll also say this, all of the things that I had mentioned and more, they make terrible saviors. They make terrible saviors. They can't do that in our lives. They will undoubtedly bring goodness to your life, but they're never going to offer you the ultimate satisfaction, the thing that your soul really longs for and really craves. Let's look back at the passage. So Jesus bypasses what the guy says. He kind of bypasses the man's excuses entirely. Let's pick it up in verse 8. He says, "Get up," Jesus told him, "pick up your mat and walk." And instantly the man got well. He picked up his mat and he started to walk. Now that day was the Sabbath. And so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "This is the Sabbath. The law prohibits you from picking up your mat." So instantly, this man after 38 years, he is healed. But here's the catch, it's the Sabbath. And I can just picture, I can imagine that guy's walking down the street. He's carrying his mat. He's probably got a little pep to his step because, man, he's excited. It's like 38 years I was laying there. And Jesus healed me and made me well. And this is a good day. And no doubt, I'm sure he's drawing some attention from a crowd. I think people are picking up on, wow, the paralyzed guy. He's walking and he walks right by the religious leaders, and he runs into the Pharisees, the religious elite. And what happens next? Honestly, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see how they step into this guy's life and what they do. They can't appreciate a walking, living, breathing miracle that can only be the result of what God has done. The fact that this 38-year paralysis has come to an end, but instead they scold him for breaking a Sabbath rule about carrying a mat on the wrong day. It seems really tragic in this passage to miss God because you're blinded by religion. They have this box that God is in for them and they can't see past it. And they're missing the movement of God, the things that he's really doing. They're blinded by their little box. If you were a Pharisee, if you were the religious leader of the day and Jesus asked you, what do you believe will make you well? A Pharisee would no doubt tell them, well, it's following the law. It's adherence to keeping God's law in obedience and keeping it perfectly. That's what will make you well. And they would also say the opposite's true. If you break God's law, you're going to get punished and you're going to be unwell. The Pharisees represent the second false hope that I want to talk about that we see in the passage today. The first is kind of pinning our hope on a pool of Bethesda kind of idea. The second one is we try to make ourselves well through our own effort, through our own checklist, through our own spirituality. And I call this one Project Self-Spirituality. I can do it. I can merit it. I can produce it. I can do these things that'll change my life or that will get God to change my life. Another way of saying that is, well, yeah, God can do it with my help. Obviously, he can do it with my help. The Pharisees had taken God's beautiful design for Sabbath rest and they turned it into this unreasonable checklist. There were 39 man-made rules designed to ensure that you were going to keep the Sabbath. And if you're not familiar kind of with that set of rules and some of the things that are in there, they had a rule that you couldn't eat an egg that was laid by a chicken if they laid it on the Sabbath because the chicken did work. I know you're laughing because you're like, okay, those are a little bit ridiculous. They represent a spiritual discipline that's completely disconnected from a real relationship with God. They replace relationship with works, doing, discipline. They're so blinded to their rule book that they miss God working. They miss him restoring. They miss him recreating Eden on earth, his kingdom. It's really easy to judge the Pharisees, but if I think if we're honest, how often do we run that we do that same thing in our life, kind of run the project self-spirituality? How often do we look to that and think, well, we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing with that. We love checklists. We love them. If I do these things and check these things off, get my bullet journal going, and I get these things done, I'm going to feel really good about things. And they give us, I think, a little bit of an illusion of control, an illusion that we're going to ultimately get the outcome that we want from doing these things. I want to challenge you guys with some things like, how do you detect this? How do you spot this in your life, this idea of project self-help, project self-spirituality? The first thing I want you to look at is look at your effort. Do you believe that you can solve the biggest problems in your life if you just work a little bit harder and you just manage your calendar a little bit better and you just do certain things in your life? Do you believe that if you could just kind of move from, you're like, well, my personality is like type B+, but if I could get to type A just a little bit further, then all the things in my life are going to work out and slot into place. It's just a little tweak I need to make on myself, and I think that's going to change the things that I really need to change in my life. Do you believe that you're a good person? You say like, well, I'm mostly trying to do the right things, and life should mostly work out in my favor because I'm trying to do the right things. I challenge you to look at your habits. Are you trusting a morning devotional routine to fix you? Or your attendance at Bible study? Do you trust those things more than the thing that they're designed to lead you to? Because that's their purpose of what you're ultimately getting to is relationship with God. When I earlier asked, what's your pool of Bethesda? And I said, we listed out a bunch of things and say, these are good things, but they make terrible saviors. It's the same thing with the spiritual discipline. A spiritual discipline is not a savior. All a discipline can do, it's limited. All a discipline can do in your life is to get you to the point where you're paying attention and ready for God to move. But the discipline itself is not God moving. They just position you into a place where you're ready, where you're listening, where he can speak to you. But just doing those things is not spirituality. Just doing those things is not relationship. The third challenge, look at your heart. When God moves in an unexpected way, or he changes a life around you that you think couldn't be changed, or maybe you even say shouldn't be changed, are you skeptical? Are you cynical? Are you critical? Do you say things in your head like, well, the change is great, but that won't last. Just give it a while, we'll see what happens. Or do you say, oh my gosh, look at what God is doing, and celebrate and praise him and not miss the miracle that's standing right in front of you? If you struggle with this, if you feel like, man, you're talking about the Pharisees and the religious leaders, and that's 2,000 years ago, but I feel like I got a little Pharisee in me. Maybe there's a little religious leader in me. Here's the truth about that. Project self-spirituality is utterly exhausting. It'll wear you out. There is no end to chipping away at the next thing, the next discipline, the next Bible study, the next church event, the next. And all you're going to do is get tired. because it's not going to equal relationship with God. Those things are designed to push you in that direction. But the goal is to have a relationship with the living God. If you're chasing those things, just for the things, it'll leave you spiritually paralyzed, laying by a pool of Bethesda, pinning your hopes on something that is not going to give you what you want. So that brings us back to our big question. What do you believe will make you well? If the healing waters of the world can't fix us, and if I can't fix myself through Project Self-Spirituality, what hope do I have? That brings us to the third and final answer, which is Jesus. Only Jesus can make you well. Only Jesus can make you well. When Jesus tells the man to get up and walk, we see this reenactment of the creation story, because all Jesus does is he speaks. And that's how the world came into existence. God spoke the world into existence. And Jesus speaks, and instantly this man's reality shifts. He does in a moment what 38 years of looking to some other superstitious belief couldn't do for this man. Verse 14 says, after this, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, see, you are well. Do not sin anymore, so that something worse doesn't happen to you. What does that mean? That seems like an ominous statement, right? The Bible clearly teaches us that not all suffering is the result of specific actions. It's not some Christian version of karma. Later in John 9, the disciples asked Jesus about a man's blindness, a man that was born blind from birth. And they say, is that a result of sin? And Jesus shuts that idea down really quickly. He says, no, don't think that way. That's not the right thinking. A lot of suffering we experience, it's simply the result of living in a broken world. It's not a Christian karma loop. But the Bible's also clear that some suffering is the natural consequence of our sin. And it seems like that might be the case for this man based off of what Jesus said. This is one of the 2 times in the Bible. So along with the woman who was rescued from being stoned for adultery, where Jesus intervenes and he brings healing and he says, go and sin no more. This is one of the 2 times that pops up, and it gives you the indication that maybe the position you're in is the result of things that you did that had natural consequences in your life, and you're suffering because of your decisions. There are some of you who are sitting in the room and you have trusted in Jesus and you're following him, but you're still living in the old ways. You're still living in the old man. You've gone back to sin because sin's comfortable. It makes us feel good temporarily. And Jesus is telling you what he told the paralytic here. If you've trusted and surrendered to him, he's given you a new story. He has given you a new identity. Don't go back to that old place anymore. Don't go back to that other thing, that old way. I think there's an even bigger picture at play in the second half of this passage. So after the man tells the religious leaders it was Jesus who healed him, the Pharisees confront Jesus. That's the second part of the story here. And Jesus responds to them by telling them, my Father is still working, even on the Sabbath. My Father is still working, and I am working also. Remember, when we look at the miracles that are in the Gospels, there's signs, but the point of a sign is not a sign itself. The point of a sign is to point us to the one who did the sign. This sign wasn't mainly about healing one man. It was pointing to Jesus' bigger mission of restoring the whole world and making everything new. It's culminating in this interaction with the religious powers and the religious authorities where Jesus says, I have this plan and it's different than what you guys think is going to happen. By performing this miraculous sign on the Sabbath, Jesus ratcheted up the tension with the religious authorities. It was this tension and his claim to be equal with God that would eventually lead him to suffering on the cross. Jesus went to the cross to pay the penalty. He stood in our place on the cross and paid for sin. And it's only through his death and his resurrection that we can finally be made well. That's the gospel. That is the answer to wellness. Saying yes to Jesus' question, do you want to become well? Saying yes to that question, it requires surrender. That's what comes with it. And let's be honest, surrender is hard. Surrender is terrifying. To give up something that we've had for so long or has made us so comfortable, where we feel like we can't give up even though it's not of God, it's scary. If you think about a person who broke their leg years and years ago, and they never went to a doctor, and the bone healed crooked, and now the person walks around with an awful and painful limp every single day of their life. But the good news is they found a surgeon that can fix it. They went and saw a doctor, and he was like, I can make your leg work perfectly. I can make your leg work just like it did before you broke it. But because you waited so long and it's healed improperly, we're going to have to re-break the bone. That's a terrifying prospect. Who wants another broken leg bone? That's immediate pain. That's being put in a cast. That's losing your mobility. That's needing to rely on other people to help you just get through daily life. But for a lot of people, the fear of that surgery, the fear of that re-break of the bone is so great that they would rather just live with the painful limp, because in a way, it's comfortable. At the same time, it's painful. And we do the same thing with our sin. We do the same thing with our brokenness. We hold on to these familiar habits, our secret sins, our self-reliance, because we're used to the limp. When Jesus offers to heal us, we realize that it means he has to re-break our pride. It's not a physical thing. It's to re-break our pride. And he takes control of our life. And that's the hard part. That's the terrifying part. You cannot manage your own sin. You cannot manage your own sin. You can't fix your own limp. You have to give the surgeon, Jesus, full consent to do what he's going to do in your life and say, okay, I'm ready. Do this work in my life. If there's some in the room, you haven't put your faith in Jesus yet, we're glad that you're here. I'm so glad you're here. I want to be truthful with you. There are pools of Bethesda in your life, just like there probably are in mine, but those pools are going to dry up, and you're going to move to the next pool, and then that pool is going to dry up too. And my encouragement, my ask is that you don't let fear keep you from giving your life to Jesus. You don't let fear be the thing that pushes you out, knowing that these things that I'm chasing after, these things the world chases after, they're not going to bring the wellness and the soul restoration that I deeply need and really deeply long for. And the Christ followers in the room, you might still be experiencing physical pain. You might be experiencing emotional suffering. But take heart, because in Jesus, your ultimate healing is completely secure. Your ultimate healing is completely secure. Right now, it's just a matter of timing. It may not be in this life. It may be in the next. But Jesus promises you will be healed. And because you know the healer, you have a specific mission on this earth. You are on a mission. Our city, it's one giant pool. It's one giant Bethesda, and people look well, but the person you see at the coffee shop, the person you see at the office, the person you see at the gym, there are spiritually paralyzed people that are laying around everywhere, and they're waiting for somebody to offer a cure. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. God has put them in your life for a reason. And I don't care if you've known the Lord for decades or if you've known the Lord for a day, you have a story that you can testify about to tell somebody about Jesus. Is there one person in your life that you can invite to Jesus? Is there one person that you can just start praying for and pray and pray and pray and pray and pray, and God will give you an opportunity to testify. He will. Church, Jesus is in the room right now. He's not here physically. He's not walking around, but he is spiritually present in the room, and he is asking all of us the same question that he asked the man at the pool 2,000 years ago. Do you want to be well? Do you want to become well? And for some of us, I think it's time to turn off the autopilot of whatever we've been doing. It's time to drop the excuses and look at Jesus and don't miss him. So only Jesus can make you well. I'm going to pray here in a minute to end the message. We have some baptisms today that we're celebrating that I'm super excited about. So we have two stories. Yeah, go ahead and clap. We got two stories that we're going to play after the message this service, and then we have another set of stories that we're going to play for the other services. So what I would ask is that you remain for the baptism and just treat the baptism as a continuation of the service. So we're not going to play music or anything at the end. When those videos end, we're just going to ask that you quietly exit and go hang out in the courtyard for us for about 5 minutes. I know it's hot, but it's worth it. Don't miss celebrating the life change of these people. Just go ahead and watch this video.
I was 9 years old, and at church camp, I gave my life to Jesus. I grew up in a very difficult home. I survived it by following Luke 18:1, which Jesus tells us to pray without cease and without fail. And through prayer, God has provided for me, protected me, and answered my prayers. After graduation, I moved out and married my husband, who is also a Christian, but we always had excuses. My main excuse was I was working Sundays with retail. I was doing homework. At the same time, church services happened, so we just never able to find a church home at that time in our life. 5 years into our marriage, my husband's health had deteriorated, and he's no longer able to work. God did answer our prayers, and he's still with us. His health is still chronic, but he's alive. After being told we couldn't have kids, God blessed us with a son for our 15th anniversary surprise. God has provided in his timing and not ours. We waited, but he knows exactly when we need it and how much we can handle and what's best for us. Since moving here to Tucson and finding Vale Christian Church, I've been blessed so much in my life and guided and directed that I am standing here today because I want to publicly profess my faith in Jesus Christ through baptism.
So we attended church as a family growing up, and I would attend the youth ministry sessions alongside when my parents would be in the adult sessions, and that would help teach us the core Christian values and help me learn the Bible, and that helped me grow up with Christian values that I still hold on to today. My time at Houston Christian University helped change my perspective on faith by being able to be surrounded by people of like faith, and our lectures would start in prayer and would have faith woven into the coursework. One of the required courses was a Bible course, and while some of the other people might have saw it as another credit to pass, I took it as an opportunity to actually dive deeper into understanding what the Bible meant. Moving from Houston to Tucson was a huge perspective shift. In Houston, everyone would attend church as a giant community, whereas in Tucson, everyone is a lot more secluded. And that perspective shift made me realize the value in the community provided by the church. I'm incredibly lucky to have my girlfriend in my life who's helped me get deeper into my faith. We're hopeful to get married in the near future, and to me, baptism is the first step, as marriage is viewed as a covenant with God. To me, baptism is the public declaration that I'm choosing to live my life through Christ. And I know I still have a much more to learn, but this is going to be my next step in my journey. But in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy. Always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect.
Isn't that awesome? That's good. That was good. We have a slide up on the screen with some, if you have children, pick up instructions, and we'll see you in a minute out in the courtyard.